Schmitt.
Thank you. I mentioned this in the introduction, but I'm not sure somebody can probably figure this out. I'm not sure it's ever happened in the history of our republic that within the last 7 or 8 years, you have 2 former attorneys general from the state of Missouri in the United States Senate in a confirmation hearing with 4 nominees for district court position that also served in that office in the last 7 or 8 years. So it's a pretty unique moment, and also would be in a courthouse named after Tom Eagleton, who was an attorney general in Missouri and served in the United States Senate. So it's a great day for all of you and your families. We're so glad that you could make it and share this really special experience. So maybe the most important question for all of you, just ask each, answer separately. How great was it to work for Eric Schmitt? No, I'm joking.
I will.
No. By the way, you can augment that to any question that's asked if you choose, but I'm not going to make you do that under oath, maybe. But I guess just to open it up for each one of you to answer, it's maybe a little bit of a different question that's often asked. Each one of you have practiced before judges. You've clerked for judges in sort of different capacities. What is one thing that you would take from that experience, whether it's before a judge or working from a judge, that you saw a judge do that you would like to emulate now as you hopefully become a federal judge?
I'll take on, with some risk, that first question before I dive into this one. And I will quote from now Solicitor General John Sauer that I love you both equally. It was great working for you both.
He had a different answer once Senator Hawley left, for the record.
I have another mentor in the room, as I mentioned, Judge Grunder, and I will say, just thinking back to seeing him presiding over appeals, he was tremendously gracious with the parties that appeared before him. He gave everyone an opportunity to address what he would see as the weaknesses in their arguments and was honest with them about that. And I think certainly the way that he approached the parties would be something I would hope to emulate.
Senator Schmitt, you were my favorite attorney general who I worked for in 2019. One of the things I really appreciated working for both Chief Judge William Pryor and also Justice Thomas is just the humility that both of them brought to the bench. I mean, it wasn't unusual for a judge, either them or some other judges in the building, to kind of have an initial inclination of what the correct answer is going to be, and then change their mind as they're going through the process. And I think being open to that sort of thing, being open to having your mind changed, is a very valuable asset for a judge.
Thank you, Senator Schmitt. And one of the things I loved the most while I was working for your office was the opportunity to be a part of the way that democracy works in this country. So in the state of Missouri, the people of the state of Missouri elect their representatives. Then the General Assembly makes laws, and then our job is almost all those laws are challenged at one point or another. And it's our job in the Missouri Attorney General's office to give those laws defense. And so it is important as a role as, for instance, a public defender's role in the democratic process to protect and to defend those laws that are passed by the people of the state of Missouri. As for things I learned from my judges, I think both of my judges, and I just want to talk about Judge Grunder as one thing that's coming to mind, is that the way he went through very methodically the opinions that he would write and make sure that he wasn't skipping any steps was something that I thought was extremely valuable, because I think the most often when you see judges go off track, it's because they've skipped a step, and it's very easy to, when you skip a step in your analysis, it's easy to insert your own opinion here. And I think that that was one of the things I took from that clerkship, is to never skip steps and to always show your work to make sure that you're not going to be inserting your own opinion here.
Thank you, Senator. I will say, given the team that you put together at the Attorney General's office, it was one of the seminal points in my career, not just because of the great team working for you and working with the great team that we had, but also managing just some of the tremendous young lawyers that came up through that office. That's, of course, as I'm sure you and Senator Hawley both know, the office where Justice Clarence Thomas began his career under then Attorney General John Danforth. It's an amazing place. It's an amazing training ground for great lawyers. I'm proud to say that One of my current clerks, Tyler Dodd, will be leaving me in the next few months to join the Attorney General's office, and I expect that my other clerk, Clayton Watts, who's here today, will be joining that office after we're finished next year. So it's just a tremendous place to learn to practice law and to practice law long-term as well. As far as what I've learned, I had the privilege, the great privilege, of clerking for Judge Pasco M. Bowman II. The first thing I can say that he exemplified was collegiality. That was a time on the Eighth Circuit where there were a lot of Reagan appointees, including Judge Bowman. But you also had senior members of that court from as long ago as the Lyndon Baines Johnson administration, believe it or not. Senator Myron Bright was a giant of that court for many years, had been appointed by LBJ, and was one of Judge Bowman's greatest friends on the court, and they agreed on virtually nothing legally. But they exemplified what someone said earlier about being able to disagree without being disagreeable. And that left an impression, and I've had opportunities over the years to give presentations to young lawyers about how to approach trials or how to approach appeals. And that's one of the things I always mention, is that you can't, in the rough and tumble, particularly of trial, you can't expect to always get along with opposing counsel. You have to zealously represent your client. But if you can, you should at least try. And before the Eighth Circuit and the courts of appeals, they expect their bars to be collegial, and they respect that, and it's advantageous to your client to be that way as well. And the other thing was, instinctual to him was a love for the rule of law and a respect for the rule of law. That was apparent to me from the beginning. I've had that experience in other capacities in my career as well. I talked about at my investiture ceremony almost 4 years ago now, some of the mentors I had during my career. One of those was Judge Raymond Grunder, who changed my life when he hired me as an assistant U.S. attorney when he was a United States attorney in St. Louis. He also had the good judgment to hire my wife as his first law clerk, not coincidentally. And Judge Grunder also represents that, the rule of law. He, as the U.S. attorney and now for a judge for about 22 years, he's exemplified that. Another example would be Tom Dittmeyer, who, as Senator Schmitt knows, is an institution in St. Louis. He was the United States attorney appointed under President Reagan, and joined our team at the Attorney General's office, worked for Attorney General Schmitt with the cold case unit. And there's no one I know more that exemplifies the rule of law than Tom Dittmeyer, even when it was not politically advantageous for him as U.S. attorney. He made some risky decisions to ensure that the law was upheld. And those are the things that I've learned.
Thank you. Thank you all. And you're all going to be great judges, so congratulations. Thanks.
Thank you.
Now, I gave Senator Kennedy an extra couple questions in the last round on condition to be nice to all of these folks. So with that, Senator Kennedy,